Tim, was this like a dating move? Like when things were getting serious, you like take a girl to Erewhon?
Yeah, like you want to go get some $30 smoothies? Like show off a little bit? Coming up, we're recapping the last Modern Acre newsletter with Jack, talking about the retailer Erewhon.
The Modern Acre podcast is presented by Myland, a soil health company that's revolutionizing agriculture. Through their innovative soil as a service, Myland partners with farmers to improve their soil health with the power of beneficial live native microalgae. The result? Healthier soils, more productive farms, and benefits like smarter water use. Discover how Myland can transform your farm at myland.ag. Tim, this has been a heck of a week. We launched AgList on Tuesday, and it has been honestly super humbling, super exciting to see the response from folks online and talking to different people, and the excitement that biological companies have for this, and seeing people's comments about how this is so needed in the industry. Man, I was so pumped to get this out into the world officially.
A lot of wind in your sails over there, Ty. Feeling good about it. It's been fun to put something out there. As they say on Twitter, you can just do things. And so we had an idea and we put it together and just shipped it out. And it's been awesome seeing the response from that.
Yeah, it's something that we've really spent a lot of time thinking about with a podcast is, hey, how can we build cool stuff and serve a niche in the industry, a challenge in the industry? And for AgList in particular, it's how can growers find useful and effective products and services for their operation. And I am so happy that we started with biologicals. I think it was just the best category to start with. And there's a lot of cool products out there. We've trialed a lot of biologicals on our farm. So it just made a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. If you guys haven't checked out the platform yet, like, what are you doing? Go to aglist.com. If you're a farmer, agronomist, a researcher, a distributor, you can make a free account. You can endorse products. And if you're a biological manufacturer, you can sign up. You can list your products on AgList starting at $200 a month for visibility to the growers that are searching for unique biological solutions for their context. And equally exciting, we are going to be launching ag tech on AgList in Q2. So if you're an ag tech company, you can sign up and create a free profile so you don't miss it when we start launching AgList in a few months. So super excited to quickly follow with ag tech, because I think that's also a big need in the industry.
So Ty, Jack has been crushing it with the newsletter. This latest edition was awesome, getting into kind of the retail side of the equation. We talk a lot of farming and ag tech, and really where does all that end up is in retail. So it's cool to get into a unique retailer, Erewhon, a small chain based out of Southern California, and really look into their business model and how they're looking to grow and scale.
You're such an Erewhon guy.
Yeah, when I lived down there, I would definitely hit up Erewhon. The hot bar was money.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's been cool to get Jack's perspective at the grocery side and some of these, Thrive Market and basically where the food ends up. And Erewhon is a fascinating business, it's a food business, it's grocery, but it's doing a lot of unique things. So we dig into all that with Jack. Hope you guys enjoy it. Jack, welcome back to the show. This latest Modern Acre newsletter edition was on Erewhon, and your first line in the newsletter says this: if this was poker, Erewhon called, then raised Whole Foods. Great hook, by the way. Touche. That was impressive. But this is so true. I feel like Erewhon is such a fascinating topic of discussion, because they're like, all right, Whole Foods, you're doing natural, organic, higher prices. Like, we're going to double down on this, triple down on this market. And so I think it's a really fascinating business that you get into in the newsletter. But let's tee it up of why talk about Erewhon next. And what are some of the things you learned?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me on, Tim and Ty. So Erewhon is a 10 store retailer in Los Angeles. I actually don't even want to use the word chain, a 10 store chain. I feel that it isn't befitting of Erewhon. As you referenced, Ty, Erewhon is the highest of quality retailers, sourcing, oftentimes the highest quality ingredients for both their groceries as well as the hot bar. Their 10 stores are roughly doing $250 million in sales. And this newsletter was really fun to dive into.
When I lived down in LA, there was an Erewhon in Venice that we'd go to pretty frequently. And it is like just a destination. Like typically you don't like go on a date to go to a grocery store, but like we would spend the afternoon in Venice and go get lunch at Erewhon and then walk up and down Abbot Kinney. And it's just like a place where people just want to go. So it's kind of a crossover of like almost a restaurant where people just go there for lunch because it's a cool place to hang out, but also to get their groceries.
Tim, was this like a dating move? Like when things were getting serious, you like take a girl to Erewhon?
Yeah, like you want to go get some $30 smoothies, like show off a little bit?
Seriously.
Well, and I think that's what makes Erewhon so interesting. It really is a lot more than a place to buy food to either consume right then and there or to bring back home in the form of groceries. It actually reminds me of Howard Schultz when he talks about Starbucks being a third place away from home and work. Starbucks obviously is, to many people, maybe to most of their customers, is no longer a third place. I remember in high school doing kind of study groups at Starbucks. It was very much a third place then and there. But for many, I think Erewhon in the SoCal region has become that. Speaking of dates, Erewhon is a place to see celebrities. It's also a place to be seen. You want to be associated with the Erewhon brand. And, I think it might be a place where you ask someone out on a first date and hey, that first date might also take place at Erewhon.
It's pretty funny. I'm like looking at their website right now because they're doing the delivery that we'll talk about, but they sell Erewhon hoodies for $185. And it's like crazy that there's demand for a hoodie from a grocery store. Like people don't have a Safeway sweatshirt or Whole Foods sweatshirt. Like it's just not like as culturally relevant. So it's pretty interesting that they sell like their own merch. You can also get some organic chicken bone broth for $50 for a mason jar worth of bone broth. Some crazy price points here.
Yeah, Tim, to the point of the merch, I think that speaks to, despite their small retail presence, only having 10 stores in the SoCal region, I mean, their social media presence and kind of reach of their brand really is across the country. And at this point, probably global. And their merch to me is a reflection of their recognition of this brand equity and looking to capitalize and monetize on that.
I mean, we've seen how important in business and particularly for the value of brand is to have kind of that cult status, right? Like there's been a number of examples of companies that have that, cult, that I would give it the cult status. And Erewhon is definitely one of those. And then an example of that is when you don't have a massive retail national or international presence. You have a few retail stores in a small area, but you have this, you do ultimately have this influence nationally because of the brand and the cult status. Jack, why don't we jump into segmentation? This is kind of something that you've been doing in these newsletters, is understanding who are the target customers. Like we've talked about, the affluent customer that comes in to maybe meet a girl or take a girl on a date. Why don't you break down the customer segmentation?
Yeah, for Erewhon, I think there's nine customer persona types, and that's across the way I segmented these customers are across two axes, and that is the loyalty, which can be thought of as the frequency in which a shopper shops Erewhon, and then the engagement. How many categories within the store are they frequently engaging with? So think of a category as dairy, as produce, as the hot bar, as meat, as kind of center aisle shelf stable goods. The reason why I did that was because Erewhon over the last couple of years launched two product offerings, a membership model and nationwide shipping. And when I learned of both of these, I was simply confused. I could not understand. We kind of laid out that shopping in person in a day of shopping online. So shopping in person is core to the Erewhon experience. It's a place to see. It's a place to be seen. It's a place to pick up the hot bar and they consume it right then and there, either on site or a short drive to your home. And so nationwide shipping did not make a ton of sense to me until I segmented the customers. Same with the membership model. We've previously discussed Costco and Thrive Market on this podcast, and I've written about Thrive. And generally, the playbook of a membership-only retailer is you charge an annual membership fee that is close to 100% margin revenue stream for that retailer. They then take the dues and use it in part to lower the price of groceries for everyday items. And so it's kind of a promise with a member of, hey, if you pay us this membership fee, we're going to offer you the lowest prices, the best in class prices on these goods. Despite Erewhon offering the membership, they still offer the highest price goods on the market.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, you would think that the subscription would get you into better pricing with that subscription, but it's kind of the opposite, where they're not really incentivized to lower their prices because that's not their model, because they're the upper higher end. So like, what's the value here, Jack, of like running the subscription?
Yeah, so let's talk about which customer persona, which customer segment I think each of those three new offerings are targeting. The three being nationwide shipping, their cafe membership, and then their plus membership. And we'll start with the plus membership, the cafe membership, priced at $100 per year. You get a free tonic drink every month and a 10% discount on spend within the cafe, which is their prepared foods. I believe this is targeting the customer persona with medium loyalty. So someone who shops Erewhon every so often, but is certainly not their number one or number two retailer, but someone with low engagement. So someone who, let's say, is pretty much only buying from the cafe and maybe one section within the store. So one, if you're incentivized with a free monthly drink, that is a ploy to increase the number of trips you make per year. Maybe this person was previously shopping Erewhon once every 2 months, so 6 trips per year. Now they have a clear incentive to come at least one time per month. And on top of that, they also have that 10% discount on the cafe. So maybe they purchase an additional snack from that cafe. And of course, while they are there, they're going to do some light grocery shopping.
I think that's one thing that until you started writing these newsletters, I didn't really grasp, is some of these strategies for companies like memberships are thought out based on this customer segmentation, right? Sometimes you just think, someone has the idea at corporate of, hey, we should do a membership. That'd be cool. But it's really important to think about, which customers are you targeting? Why are they going to engage in this? How do we price it at a point that is actually beneficial to the company, right? Versus just a break-even endeavor, right? I think that's really interesting. You have to know the customer segmentation to understand how the economics work.
It's all about upselling a customer segment, and that can be across increase the basket size for trips that are already there, or it can be about increasing the number of trips in which they're visiting that retailer. And I think that's a nice segue into the customer segment that their plus membership is targeting. So as an overview, their plus membership priced at $200 per year. That is also at a free monthly tonic drink, as well as a 10% discount on pretty much the entire store. So while the cafe membership only had a 10% discount on cafe items, the plus membership would include other categories. I believe this plus membership is targeting the Erewhon loyalist, someone who shops Erewhon every week. It is very much their top retailer. So I actually don't think the plus membership will increase trips per year. Let's say they're already visiting the store 50 times per year. But I believe this cohort has medium engagement. They may be buying their produce, their dairy, their shelf-stable goods at Erewhon, but for whatever reason, their meat, they're buying from either the farmer's market or maybe some online subscription offer like ButcherBox. And so this 10% discount is an incentive to say, hey, just buy everything. We have you covered. Just buy your entire grocery selection here with us.
Is there another subscription tier, or are those the two options?
Those are the two. So one at $100 per year, one at $200. If we look at that price relative to a Thrive Market, for example, which prices $60, very much a premium.
Cool. Let's dig into the shipping aspect. You thought that was a little interesting as well. It's kind of typically when you're ordering online, you're like looking at Amazon or Thrive to kind of like get some discounted products to make those purchases online. With consumables and groceries, like it's weird that they want to play in this space, but I see a lot of kind of like branded private label, where I think it's probably people that have been to LA and visited a store and now have returned home to Ohio or wherever they live, want to kind of bring that back and be advocates for Erewhon and show off to their friends.
Exactly. You alluded to the merch earlier, Tim, and I think they offer nationwide shipping for the exact same reason. Their reach expands far beyond the LA SoCal region, and it now becomes an opportunity for, let's say, someone like myself living in New York, having visited LA before, having visited and shopped at Erewhon. If I wanted to, I could continue my association with the brand by now buying some shelf-stable goods through the Erewhon program. And so, yes, there's a component of nationwide shipping, serves those who live in LA and actually just want the convenience of shopping for their groceries online. But really, the bigger component is to serve those who do not live in LA. Maybe they used to, and they very much associated with Erewhon and want to continue that relationship. Or those who have never lived in LA, probably will never, but they want a piece of the brand.
Probably pretty interesting data for Erewhon too, to see if they get a huge amount of orders from a certain market, like as they look to expand. Like, do you think they'll expand their footprint, or like how do they grow and scale from here, like with their 10 store size?
There's long been a rumor of them opening a store in New York. There's another store, Happier Grocery, that recently opened in New York that some are saying as an Erewhon Light or an Erewhon equivalent. I've been to Happier. It's a solid store. It's not quite at Erewhon's level. It's also just a lot smaller based on the footprint of many stores in New York. I imagine Erewhon will expand their footprint kind of closer to the home base. Maybe that's upwards to Santa Barbara, down south to San Diego. There become challenges of expanding their prepared foods much beyond LA at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting because like looking at their website, it's like they have like Thorn, which is like a third-party supplement brand, creatine, right, on their website. So it's like part of it feels like that. Like, why would someone buy Thorn creatine via Erewhon, right? It's like, are they positioning themselves to be kind of like a Thrive, retailer? It's complicated, right? I feel like they are playing in a lot of different spaces, and from my perspective, it's almost like confusing. Where are they trying to where are they trying to go?
Well, I think it's a fair segue to the notion of a retailer's private label versus third-party brands, because as you just said, Ty, Erewhon sells both. So maybe let's take a step back and just understand the playbook, the historical playbook of a retailer's private label. So the first step is you have a third-party brand that innovates on some product category. Maybe they're sourcing different ingredients. A couple decades ago, you're taking a snack category and now it's organic, or now it's plant-based, gluten-free. It might be seed oil-free now, or regenerative. So the ingredients could actually change. The sourcing of those ingredients can change. Maybe the actual combination of the ingredients change, new flavor profiles, and you wrap that up in compelling branding, marketing, and packaging. And then you sell that to the retailer, who, of course, then sells it to you and I as shoppers. Now, from the retailer's perspective, they're collecting data on what does not sell well, what does sell, and then what sells really well. And as a result, they then imitate many of those product offerings and create their own version of it. And that is the kind of the genesis of a retailer's private label. Now, here's an interesting notion. Most retailers, let's say all retailers have a private label. And why do they do that? Well, it's they know that this SKU is going to sell well, so there's less risk. They're bringing that in-house, and so they lower the price, they lower the marketing spend, but it's a higher margin product. Why is it a higher margin product despite the lower price? Well, in part because of that lower marketing spend. Why can they get away with a low marketing spend? Unless you were a third-party CPG brand that has dozens of product offerings and very high brand equity and brand association. If you're a smaller third-party brand, you really need to invest in compelling packaging because there are so few touch points for a customer to interact with your brand. But with a retailer's private label, there are hundreds of opportunities for a customer to touch and kind of be associated with your brand. And so they don't have to invest as much in the packaging or kind of compelling branding. Two, they can lower the price because you're no longer paying the margin of a third-party brand. So that manifests in a higher margin product. And here's an interesting notion on the naming convention. You think of Costco, their private label is Kirkland. You think of Whole Foods, their private label is 365 every day. So to wrap up kind of the historical playbook of a retailer's private label, one, they're outsourcing innovation to the third-party brands. They then play copycat. They lower the price but earn a higher profit. And they do not invest in marketing, and they often use a different name for that private label.
Yeah, it seems like it's becoming more of a thing at retail of like everything is private labeled third party for those retailers. Back in produce, I think from a manufacturer like supplier standpoint, it was like a little bit overwhelming because every retailer that you work with wants their own box, and you're having to manage like all these subsets of inventory where you can't just supply one SKU of apples. You have a different SKU of apples for every retailer you're working with. So from like a supplier perspective, like see this trend kind of being a little challenging for inventory management, but I think that the benefit for retailers, like it's working, and that's why we're seeing more and more of this.
Yeah, and then ultimately we can compare that historical playbook to the playbook that Erewhon has taken with their private label. What are some kind of aspects that stand out? Well, first, the name. Erewhon uses Erewhon as their private label, and I think that really is them tapping into the brand equity that the retailer name Erewhon already has. So they want to continue to leverage that. Why build a new brand from scratch? But here's the most interesting point, and that is on price. This might not hold true across all product categories, but for at least a few of them, instead of offering a lower price for the Erewhon private label, they actually offer those goods at a higher price. I'll use the example of their bottled water. So Erewhon sells Mountain Valley spring water, the water that you can buy in the green glass bottle. That at Erewhon is priced at $3.49. Erewhon has a very similar product, also spring water, also sold in glass, priced at $3.99. And guess what? When my wife and I were there a year ago, I was very much studying these different prices, and we chose the Erewhon water. We wanted that experience. We wanted to be holding the Erewhon bottle. And sure, Erewhon may say, well, our spring water is a higher quality than the other spring water. But at the end of the day, they really are changing the narrative of what a private label means to a retailer.
Yeah, I feel like they're sitting in their boardroom. They have like one rule, just like always come back to charge more. When in doubt, charge more. Hey, we should do private labeling because of all the reasons Jack mentioned. Great idea. But instead of charging less, let's charge more because we can. And I think this is like the balance that they've been able to manage is they are small. They only have a few retail locations. If they diluted the brand by scaling massively, they wouldn't be able to charge as much. And it's a different business, right? Like the business they have right now is super high margin. It's smaller than what the total, market opportunity is, but I think it seems very intentional it's almost like this is the conversation is we will grow as much as we can as long as we can still charge more, put it as their company tagline.
Well, we spoke about this earlier, Ty, of how does a retailer increase their sales? You can either increase the number of customers, you can increase the number of trips per year each customer makes, or you can increase that basket value. When I referenced basket value before, we were kind of alluding to increasing the number of units. But of course, the other leg of increasing the basket value is increasing the price. And, from the get-go, that is something that of course has been part of the Erewhon brand, the higher prices.
Jack, what are the risks to this kind of a business? Like, it seems like they have just a really good footprint and base here. Like, we've seen kind of these trendy retailers like Foxtrot in the Chicago area was like a retail darling that I think announced bankruptcy earlier in the year. It's been having some challenges. Like, what do you see as the risk for Erewhon?
Yeah, I kind of interpret risk in the context of competition. Now, Erewhon is a retailer, but let's actually stress test that. 40% of Erewhon sales come from their prepared food section. So that could be their smoothie bar, that could be the actual hot bar, or kind of a myriad of freshly prepared snacks and desserts. 40% of sales, that certainly over-indexes the percent of sales that come from the prepared food section of any other retailer. So who really is their competition? Is there competition a Whole Foods or a similar local kind of very high quality natural grocer? Or is it your high quality fast casual restaurants like a Sweetgreen, like a Urban Plates in Southern California? I think that will be a determinant for how far Erewhon can scale.
Yeah, it seems like they, I said earlier, it's like complex. They're kind of all over the place, but it almost seems as if they develop a category and then they think to themselves, how can we Erewhon this? And they're going as much as they can to maintain that high margin, high price point while not scaling it to, to be a national retailer, a national brand, or, a national fast casual spot. So it's like another thing. I was just looking at their website. It's like you could spend hours on this website analyzing it. Is they do all this wine. They have biodynamic wine, and they've seemed to like really lean into. They have like 300 bottles of wine that are available online. So they're like a biodynamic wine retailer as well. Like add that to the mix. And shipping wine is not super simple, right? Because you have like a lot more regulatory logistical challenges on doing wine. So it seems like they're like playing in all these different spaces of like, hey, this is interesting. Let's how would Erewhon do this? But they're being intentional about not scaling beyond that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think one way to almost sum it up is Erewhon a retailer that sells prepared foods? So is Erewhon a grocery store that sells prepared foods? Or are they a high quality fast casual chain that sells groceries? And I know you guys spoke about Sweetgreen a couple episodes ago in terms of kind of a prediction podcast episode. And it's almost made me think like, Sweetgreen has really built this robust supply chain. Could they start offering some of their ingredients kind of a la carte, kind of in addition to the bowls and salads that they make?
Totally. Sweetgreen, if you're listening, that idea is on us, no big deal. But I should probably buy some stock in advance. This is not investment advice.
Well, Jack, thanks for coming back on the pod. It was fun talking about Erewhon. You've been just on a roll lately. Excited for your next edition, hopefully early next year.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks as always, guys.
Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation with Jack. If you're not a subscriber to the Modern Acre newsletter, be sure to do that. We actually did a special email blast about AgList, digging into why we did AgList, all the details. So you can subscribe to our Substack, see all of Jack's previous editions, see the posts on AgList, And would love you guys to just support what we're building with AgList. If you haven't created an account, if you're a farmer, agronomist, researcher, create an account. You'll be entered to win a farmer mode hat that we're coming out with in a few months. So get that free account just so you're on the platform, logged in, endorse products if you have used them before. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.